Hello, good morning, investor and corporate. Welcome to SET Digital Roadshow first quarter 20 and 22 performance review. This section will run about 45 minutes, including Q&A. Company will start the section by 30-minute presentation, followed by 15-minute Q&A. And during Q&A, investor may read your question in meeting room chat box or use raise your hand function. We will open your microphone so you can ask the questions to the company directly. So may I now invite ADVANC Info Service Public Company Limited. The presentation, please. Thank you very much.
ค่ะ Thank you and good morning everyone to AIS session. Thank you for joining us. My name is Nattiya. I'm the head of investor relations and compliance. So let me begin with some short brief of the presentation, our business overview, what happened in the first quarter, as well as the guidance for this year. As some of you may have already been familiar with AIS, but let me briefly explain about our business in the four categories. Today we're operating in mobile, broadband, enterprise, and also digital services. Of course, mobile remains the key main revenue stream for us, contributing almost 90% of our revenues. The key growth driver on the mobile side going forward will continue to be the development and adoption of the 5G technology. In terms of fixed broadband has been the newly added business for about 7 years now. We have continued to gain momentum in terms of market share and as well as the revenue contribution. You see on this slide here that currently our revenue contribution coming from fixed broadband is around 7%. We believe that the market continue to have potential growth, especially in the suburb area across Thailand. The third business is in enterprise. Originally, we have provided services around the telecom service to the enterprise segment. More recently, we have geared our focus toward what we call the non-mobile enterprise or CCIID, composing of cloud, cybersecurity, IoT, ICT solution, and data centers. Today, this business still contribute less than 4% of our revenue, but it has been growing very strongly, and we expect this to have higher contribution in the future, and also will complement with other services in mobile and broadband that we have already provided to the customers. And lastly, this still very small portion today in terms of revenue is digital service or digital platform. This business we see as a value-added service or how we engage with the customers over the long term, as well as the driver to the long-term revenue stream in terms of new revenue beyond the connectivity. Some of the services that we have on digital service, such as the video platform, financial services, and others to come in the future. Now let's talk about the first quarter performance of AIS. Beginning of this year, as we all aware that the Omicron strain of COVID had continued, and it also impact how we see consumer spending, as well as starting in the late of first quarter and beginning in second quarter, there's also some pressure coming in terms of the inflation. So in the first quarter, we continue to observe quite a weak demand from consumer side. If you see on this slide here, you see that in terms of overall core service revenue, it's increased slightly by about 1%. This has come from three big contribution. Number one is in terms of mobile. You see that the mobile continued to drop slightly, almost 2% drop from previous years. Also have to say that the previous year we had a number of government incentives that had boosted the first quarter of last year. So year on year, the mobile business seems to be dipping slightly. However, despite of the weak consumer sentiment, but the trend of people to work from home, as well as companies that want to continue to have a hybrid work arrangement, that has drive the growth in terms of broadband and also enterprise. You see that our broadband revenue has grown by about 27%, and the enterprise grow up almost 30%. In terms of the EBITDA, despite of some revenue weakness, we continue to execute cost initiatives across the organization. We actually have focused on the cost initiatives for over the course of several years, partly also driven by the need for digitalization of a number of internal processes. So we'll continue to execute in terms of cost optimization, and that's why in terms of overall cost of service, you see it's still slightly decline, even though we continue to expand our 5G network. On SG&A, almost flat from last year. And throughout this year, I think where we spend mostly on the SG&A will be focusing on marketing activities, as the last 2 years had been quite dampened in terms of the activities due to the COVID. But in first quarter, you see that it's only slightly upward, but throughout the year, we probably will be looking to spend slightly more on the marketing. So EBITDA overall for the first quarter was also relatively flat compared to last year. However, in terms of the NPAT here, you see that it's down about 5% year on year, and this is due to the ongoing investment in our network to ensure that we deliver the leadership in terms of 5G. So we have the D&A rising a bit, about 2.8%, and also in terms of some FX gain loss, so that reflected in the NPAT that is declining by about 5%. Let me talk a bit more into details of the environment on the mobile side and how we see the growth going forward. You see that, as mentioned, the mobile revenue continued to drop slightly from previous year. If you see the chart in the middle, you see that actually in terms of total number of subscribers or the net addition continue to be growing quite strongly. However, on the ARPU side, we see the pressure, and this is coming from both the weak consumer sentiment as well as price competition that continue to dilute the ARPU. Price competition happened mostly in the prepaid segment. We continue to see a number of unlimited fixed speed data plans offered in the market, particularly in the low-end segment of the prepaid. That means consumers are paying between 100 to 200 baht a month, but then they can continue to use the data unlimited with the speed cap at a lower level from 2 to 6 megabit per sec. So that will be the key things that diluted the level of ARPU that we are seeing. We believe that as the economy started hopefully to recover, but with the pressure of the inflation still lingering, that may continue to see the pressure in terms of the consumer spending. Another key drivers that we have always seen in the mobile side is the migration of customer from prepaid segment into the postpaid segment. You see in terms of the revenue contribution at the lower left chart, the pie chart here, you see that now the postpaid contribution is already more than half, 55% of our revenue coming from the postpaid segment. We expect these contribution to continue to expand as there will be more customer willing to subscribe to the monthly plan, attracted mainly by the handset campaigns that bundle the handset with discount with the mobile packages. However, it may slow down somewhat due to the aggressive pricing on the prepaid side. In terms of the volume of data consumption, you see on the bottom right is now that per customer basis, our customer are using around almost 27 gigabyte a month. This is what we call the blended volume of usage or VOU. The growth has tapered down slightly from previous years, and this is due to people are starting to come back to the office now. Another key driver, especially over the long term for the mobile business, is in terms of 5G. We have taken the position that we want to continue investing in the 5G network and bringing the leadership around 5G. In terms of the network coverage, now we have 5G in all of the 77 provinces, but not all of the area. The key focus of the dense coverage will be in Bangkok and big cities, as well as the EEC areas, where you see here that more than 99% of the Bangkok and EEC has been covered. In terms of the overall population coverage, at the end of first quarter, we were around 78%, but by year end, we target this coverage to go up to about 85%. And this mainly can be achieved with the addition of 700 megahertz spectrum, which has the quality of wider network coverage. In terms of adoption of the 5G, as of end of first quarter, we had about 2.8 million 5G subscribers. Of course, there's still some portion of some millions of customers who are already using 5G handset but not yet subscribed to the 5G package. We'll continue to encourage those group of customers to adopt the 5G plans. The 5G plans is designed in such a way that we will encourage higher data volumes for customer where they can trade upward for the higher end packages. And as a result of these 2.8 million customers moving over to 5G, we already see an ARPU uplift of this customer when they jump from 4G to 5G by about 15%. The year-end target for the 5G adoption will be about 5 million package subscribers, and we believe these will be supported by wider varieties of 5G devices that will come more in the mid to low tier segment. Today, we already seen the 5G devices priced around 6,000-7,000 baht. But may still be a limit in terms of number of the varieties of models available in the market. But we should see a lot more of these coming, especially in the second half of the year. Now let's move to the fixed broadband business. Our fixed broadband, as mentioned, continue to grow very strongly. You see that our revenue growth this quarter of around 27% strongly outperform what the market growth. The market growth is only in the number of low mid-single digit growth. And our market share now has climbed up to about 14%. Within this year, we also expect our position coming from number 4 to achieve number 3. In terms of subscriber growth, we also continue to add subscriber between 90,000 to 100,000 subscriber per quarter. And this continue to AIS, this is driven by the quality of our fiber products, both in terms of the network itself and also the service quality. You see on this slide at the bottom right here that we also add the value-added services to our package, where we encourage the smarter version of the routers and also promote the 24 hours guarantee of service to the customers. Fixed broadband, similarly to mobile in the sense of competition, we also continue to see higher competition in the broadband business. And that's why if you look at the ARPU level, it also is still lower year on year by about 3%, partly because of the cheaper package on the fixed broadband. The entry level of fixed broadband now coming around 400 baht level. In some cases where we see competition in the market, some of the broadband offering can be as low as 300 baht. Another key issue, key driver for us in terms of the broadband is that when we look at the fixed broadband, we intend to drive multiple services from our leverage from our mobile subscriber base. So we target specifically on our existing mobile subscriber who hasn't yet used AIS home broadband fiber service. And for this, we offer a number of convergence or bundle package to the customer. And therefore, when we allocate the ARPU or calculate the ARPU on the fixed broadband, it may seem to be diluted. But on the overall per customer basis, we expect to see higher revenue contribution per customers coming from both mobile and also fixed broadband. Enterprise business is another key driver for us over the mid to long term. You see that in terms of the non-mobile revenues per quarter, it's already beyond 1 billion baht per quarter and has been growing nicely, 25 to 30%. Key strategy for the enterprise business for us, since it is non-mobile or non-telecom. That means we are entering into more of the ICT type of service. You see on the right-hand side here that we are tapping into cloud, data center, cybersecurity, IoT, and ICT solutions. These new type of services that we provide to the enterprise segment will require new capability of AIS staff and employees, as well as how we organize the internal processes to serve this new type of service. So our key strategy is to work with leading partners in each of the particular products or solutions. For example, in cloud, last year we have made strategic partnership with Microsoft. So we have become the main distributors of Microsoft Cloud product in Thailand to the enterprise segments. With the partnership with Microsoft, it helped AIS to enhance our technical capabilities and how we can serve the customer and address the demand for the digitalization and cloud product much better. And you see here that that's why our cloud revenues growth had continued to grow very strongly. Lastly, let me touch upon the outlook of 2022. We are now sitting on almost half a year already, and on the back of the economy that now we started to reopen the country. That's the positive, or that's a positive driver to how we see the economy throughout the rest of the year. With the reopening, we expect to positive factors. One is the direct factor in terms of incoming and outgoing travelers, both business and also leisure. We have already started to see higher international roaming coming through. Usually, international roaming in terms of revenue contribution before the COVID level is between 2.5% to 3% of our revenue. For the first quarter of this year, it's still only slightly above 1%. So still a long way to go in terms of contribution from the incoming and outgoing traveler segment, but we expect to see this coming more toward the second half of the year. Secondly is the indirect impact, which is basically the connected industry from the tourism or the service industry that will see better consumer demands coming through. So hopefully we can see some recovery in terms of the economy in the second half of the year. So that's the positive side. However, as mentioned earlier, the inflation is still the key factors that also dampen how we see the consumer spending. So that is to be monitored throughout the year as well. However, we believe that the demand for 5G, which is mainly in the high-end and mid-tier segment, will remain to be quite strong. So we expect the adoption of 5G to continue, and this will give the positive side to the revenue, as well as the fixed broadband, as mentioned. The penetration of the fixed broadband in Thailand is still below 60%, and we believe that there is still good demand, especially in the suburb area, to grow, as well as in terms of the enterprise, because business continue to adapt themselves, transform into the digitalization. And therefore, net overall, we are expecting the core service revenue to grow in a mid-single digit range. In terms of EBITDA, the growth is around low single digit, slightly lower than how we guide in terms of the top line, mainly because we look at higher marketing spending this year. Despite that, we continue to optimize and transform internal processes, which means that we continue to control the cost side in both in terms of the service side and also the SG&A. But the marketing spending, because the last 2 years has been quite on the lower side because of the activities that had been restricted due to the COVID. So this year we expect a lot more marketing activities and campaigns to come back, and that's why on the EBITDA side we're looking at a low single digit growth. And lastly, in terms of our investment, we will continue to push forward with the 5G leadership, and therefore majority of our CapEx will go toward the mobile investment. We also will add more fixed broadband CapEx this year, as we believe that there continue to be good demand. So the CapEx allocated for the broadband business will be around 7 billion baht, out of this 30 to 35 billion baht range that we have given. And also in terms of the investment for the enterprise business. This CapEx investment does not yet include the spectrum payment that we need to make each year. So that will be an additional of around 11 billion per annum for the next couple of years. So with that, I think we'll end up or concluded with this year in terms of how we see the cash flow and also in terms of the dividend. As you know, we have the dividend policy of a minimum 70% payout of our NPAT. In the last couple of quarters, we had payout higher than 70%. And with this guidance, you see that actually we will continue to have growth in the EBITDA, which will be more than sufficient to support our full year CapEx. We will continue to deliver a strong positive free cash flow, which will help us to continue to constantly deliver return to the shareholders in terms of the dividend. So that's all for the presentation. We now like to open the floor for the Q&A. Feel free to raise your hand using the raise hand function, or you may also type your question in the chat box, and then we'll address your questions and concerns. Thank you.
Okay, there are no questions. The section has come to an end. So on behalf of the Stock Exchange of Thailand, I would like to thank you, investor and corporate, for joining the conference. We look forward to welcome you all again in the next quarter. Thank you very much and have a good day. ขอบคุณนะคะ
ค่ะ สวัสดีค่ะ